What is going on, everybody? Today we have something really fun. As you are aware, if you follow this channel at all, you'll know that I am a pretty big fan of exploring digital platforms for recording my music for playing on YouTube, for generally practicing. I have a bunch of different stuff around here, right? We have the Tone Master Princeton over there. We've got, I think, almost all of the positive grid stuff. That's pretty cool. But my number one kind of main go-to rig for quite a while now, probably, I don't know, ever since it came out really, has been this little dude that I put together. If you'll probably recall seeing it in videos on my little Temple audio board here. This has been kind of my number one situation, where I've got a Tonex by IK Multimedia with a delay and an overdrive pedal by Wampler and a tuner. You know, just something super simple. A lot of the, I think, reservations that people have about going to the digital stuff is the complication of it all. And this thing is really cool, but it's also huge, right? Like, it takes up this whole thing. It's huge. Wouldn't it be cool for guys like me, or gals like you, if you're out there watching this, 0.3% of our listener base, I guess. If you had something that did what you wanted it to do, but didn't take up as much space as this. Because I think in real life, we don't need a million features. What we need is a couple of good sounds that we can toggle in between and have at our disposal whenever we want. Wouldn't it be cool if you could just have 2 amps with you all the time, right? Like, I want a Fender and a Marshall at my fingertips or at my toe tips whenever I want. But I don't want to haul them around, and I don't want to be fiddly all the time. I just want to hit the button and go. And I want to be able to do it in any situation possible. I want to be able to record at home, straight into my laptop, into my iPad, into my phone, into a mixing board. What if I have an amp that I like, but I want to be able to profile or have tone profiles for a couple of pedals? What if I want to play into a flat range, flat response speaker with no amp? What if I want to play into a powered cabinet with no amp, but I want the tone that I want? I want ultimate flexibility, and I do not want it to be huge. I have the thing for you today. Welcome to the Tonex One. It's tiny. It's teeny tiny. It's this big. And this does all the things I just told you, and many, 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 many more things. Let's go ahead and go through the feature set of it. You've already heard it. You're going to continue to hear it. I'm going to tell you some really important things about it. I'm going to give you a kind of click through all of the buttons. And then here's what's going to happen. You're going to be like totally confused, and you're going to be like, I thought this was super easy. What I wanted was really simple. And once we get through all that, I'm going to tell you how I think you really should use this and what the intention of it is for real. All right, so let's just dive into basic controls and features of this thing. Obviously, we have a AB/bypass button. We'll talk about that because it does more than one thing. We've got an Alt button that accesses a second set of controls. We've got a main gain/volume knob here. We've got a row of knobs here at the top bass, mid, treble, but then you notice it also says gate, comp, reverb. So when you hit this button, that actually moves everything to the bottom. So now you're adjusting your gate, your comp, and your reverb, and you're also adjusting gain instead of overall volume, which is pretty cool. So now we go back. Currently, this pedal is in AB mode, which means I have two tone profiles in here, and when I click this, it switches to the other one. So for example, the way I'm using it is you could have a cleaner one and a dirtier one, basically. And when you move the knobs here, it'll affect that profile. And when you move the knobs here, it'll affect that one, once you switch it over. You've got your in and your out, and then there's a USB-C on the bottom, and of course power to power it. And that's really it. There's a couple of interesting features that I'll show you to access some other stuff. Well, here, let me just show you. When you're first deciding what presets you want to use, there's a couple other modes here. So I think if we press these two together, yeah, now it's blinking a bunch of different colors. And now you can toggle through 20 presets that are on here. I'm not going to do it because I like the two that I've got now. I find that it's easier just to plug this into the computer and manipulate the stuff. We'll talk about the practical use of this later because that sounds overwhelming and stupid, but it's not. So we'll talk about, for those of you that are like, I don't want to use an app, I don't want to use the computer, we'll talk about how we actually use it in real life later in a few minutes. But that is a possibility that you can do that stuff. All right, so now we're in a different mode where we can adjust the mode. So we can make it AB between 2 amps. We can make it a stomp, where you can just use this as a stomp pedal, put it in your pedal board and use it as a pedal with the various stomp profiles. The other thing that you will do in this mode, there's a couple things. One, this is where you'll use your cab bypass. So if you are playing directly into something, if you're not using an external speaker for some reason, you can toggle your cab bypass on and off here with Micronob 2. And then you can also adjust input trim. Input trim is important for digital stuff because if the output of your pickups is very high, sometimes you have to adjust the input gain, basically the input trim that your guitar is sending to a digital device. This is key to having good digital tone. If it's too high, it'll clip and be weird, and it'll crackle and it'll sound weird and thin and stuff. So, if you're playing P90s or you're playing humbuckers that are really hot, you'll probably have to adjust this just a little bit to make sure that it works. Now, the cool part is you can adjust it differently for different, well, this is a global setting here, but once you get this, then all your profiles for that guitar will work a lot better. For those of you that are not familiar with the IK Multimedia Tonex platform, this is basically a switcher for a library of tones that you get, the Tonex library, you get access to when you buy one of their products. They are professionally done as well as contributed by various users. There is also a piece of equipment that you can buy that will actually take a tone profile of your amp that you already have. I actually have that piece of equipment too. So it will capture your amp that you already own. And then it will put it into a piece of software that then allows you to put it on this pedal and be able to toggle around. And also be able to manipulate to some extent the tone captures that are on this pedal. Now the big Tonex pedal that I just showed you is what came before this. But this is kind of a stripped down, easier to carry around, easier to put on your pedal board option that still runs all of the same software and has all of the same tonal characteristics and capabilities as the old one, just smaller. Now the three main ways you can use this thing is in stomp mode, which basically means that you can use this as a overdrive or a boost pedal, you know, and you've got your EQ on here and you've got a knob to adjust that and you can do that. There's also some other effects that are available. No time-based stuff, this is all amp related, okay, if that makes sense. There's also a browse mode that gives you opportunity to browse through the 20 presets that you have loaded on here or already came factory loaded on here if you've not messed with any of that stuff. And then the third mode, I think, which is the most popular for me, what I'm going to use, is the dual mode, where you have two tone profiles on here and you just toggle between them. It means that there's no bypass. It means that this is your amp and you can say, you know what, I want a Fender, I want a Marshall. And it just goes between, because you're never going to shut your amp off. So you've got two different amps at your disposal. You can then do a few things. As I'm talking to you now and recording these little things, USB-C cable out of the bottom, straight into my MacBook Pro, recording into GarageBand, and that is the sound that you're hearing. No fuss, no muss. No extra cables, no nothing. You can use a headphones right out of the output of this and play into headphones. That's what I was doing. Guitar in, headphones out to my head, USB to the computer. End of story. Of course you have to power it. But this is the jam right here. I think this is really, really cool. If you want, you could put it on a pedal board, go directly out to the house, directly to some powered speakers, directly to really whichever way you want. When you get the manual, you'll see there's like, you can scroll through. They don't want me showing the manual or any of the software because apparently this is like pre-release stuff as I'm shooting this, and so I'm just going to tell you about it. But when it comes out, when you get this, look in the manual and you'll be able to see all these crazy combinations. Guitar in, stereo out a couple of different ways, split it out to monitors, all powered monitors, all kinds of stuff. You don't need anything else with this. Like literally this is it. This is all you need, which I think is really, really cool. Now, like I said, it doesn't have time-based effects in it except for reverb. Every preset can be edited. You can edit a gate, a compressor. Here, I'm going to cheat. You can edit a gate, a compressor, the tone model itself, EQ, and reverb on every situation there. You can use this as a stomp box. You can use it as a stomp and an amp. You can use it as a stomp and an amp and a cab, which is also very important because if you do not want to use the impulse responses for a cabinet, where you're actually going to be using it with another guitar amp or using it with something else where you don't want the cabinet part of it, you can shut that off, which is pretty cool. So this is ultimately flexible. You're like, but Dylan, as you talk all this tone, I thought this was supposed to be easy. I agree. Let me tell you something. I didn't do any of that stuff. I did set the input gain because P90s and other various pickups that we're using in this demo. Other than that, I haven't touched anything. Literally, there's 2 profiles in here that I really like. You have been hearing them throughout the whole thing. I have been A-Bing in between each of them, and I've been adjusting the gain a little bit to get a couple little different sounds, but other than that, that's it. I think the real way most people, and maybe this is the way it's intended, I don't know, is to give you 2 amps and have them with you all the time. Be able to toggle between them, do whatever you want, put whatever pedals you want in front of it, put whatever cabinet and whatever amplification you want after it, but have 2 amps with you all the time. What I really like about it and how I'm going to use it is I'm literally going to use the USB out to the computer, headphones in, or out the other side, and play guitar in my living room, in my studio. I mean, you could take this thing anywhere. This is incredible. The fact that you can have all of that in this tiny box, and to me, the flexibility of it, it's key, man. Yeah, I'm sold on this thing. IK Multimedia did send this to me ahead of the release date. So if you're seeing this today, the day this video comes out, this is like the embargo day. So I've been playing it for about a week and messing around with it. And the more I mess around with it, the less I mess around with it. Like the less I care about all the other stuff. The more I just plug it in, find a couple of sounds, A, B. That's it. That's all I do. Oh, and if you hold it down for a minute, you get to tuner. So there is that too. But other than that, it's exactly what I wanted. It's exactly what I wanted. Every time I think about a Kemper or a Quad Cortex or a Helix or even the Tonex that I had before, I wanted less. I wanted less options. I wanted less fiddling. I wanted less. I wanted plug it in, have a sound, switch it to another sound, switch it back to the other sound. End of story. I don't care about having a million different profiles available or a million different sounds. Plus, this gives me the flexibility to have a little analog feel to all of this by putting all of my pedals with this and being able to still be a pedal guy, messing around with pedals and stuff. I think that's really cool. So this is a way to get into the digital side of life more simply and just really, I don't know, man. I was telling Leslie this morning, I was like, this might be my new favorite one of these. Not because, you know, you could go all off in the weeds, like no doubt you are, some of you are already typing feverishly in the comments and missing very cool, important details about how it doesn't feel like a Tobe amp or I'm listening on an iPhone. with earbuds and I can tell it doesn't sound like, I don't care about any of that. What I care about is the application of this, how easy it is, and how easy it's going to make it for me to play, and how easy it is for me to be able to have access to sounds that I didn't have access to. Even easier than anything that I already own. I really, really like this thing. I think it's awesome, and I think you should check it out. I will leave a link to IK Multimedia in the description of this video. Thanks to IK Multimedia for sending this out for me. I am super into it. I am going to leave it in my studio and play it just like this, with no other pedals or anything. I just love the straight sound from it. No lie, this thing is cool. I'm stoked. I'm really stoked to have it. Check it out. Like I said, there will be a link in the description. If you want to know anything else about it, put questions in the comments, and maybe on next week's podcast on Tuesday, we will address some of those questions specifically to this product. If we get enough questions, maybe I'll set up a guitar for the live podcast and we can go through a couple of things and features and stuff and dive into it a little bit more if you want to do that, because we can do that live during the podcast. We're fancy like that. So let me know. Thanks for hanging out. My name is Dylan. This has been Dylan Talks Tone. Please hit the subscribe button and the like button. And if you like down and dirty videos like this, that are reviews like this, that are just no frills, this thing is cool, please subscribe. We will see you in the next video.